Okay, so just give me a minute and we will get started. So as you can see, I am not in my usual location today. The sun is setting, so we'll see how it works throughout this live because that is my main source of light here. And as you are hopping on, just say hi, let me know that you are here. I love to know who's watching with me. And we're gonna get started. Okay, so today I am wanting to talk about the father wound and its impact on dating and relationships and why you might struggle with men struggling with finding or keeping that relationship that you want. So, if you are a high achieving woman, you have achieved success, most of your life is working really well, but you keep falling for men who are emotionally unavailable or ultimately won't commit, it is possible that part of the reason behind that is a father wound. So I'm going to be breaking that down. I'm going to be talking about what it looks like, what it is, possible causes, how it connects to attachment styles, and then tips and solutions if you're noticing that what I'm talking about is fitting your experience. I'm also taking new clients, so as if you're listening and you're like, yep, that's me, and you want to reach out to me, we can chat about working together because this is part of the work that I do that just sets you up to be able to attract, find, keep that amazing relationship. So as you are hopping on, or if you are catching the replay, I'd love to know, what your attachment style is. If you know that, I'm really curious. So let me know in the comments. And if you're catching the replay, you can say hashtag replay so I can say hi to you and I know who is here. And feel free to interact with me and write comments and questions and ahas and whatever's coming up for you as you're watching. I'm also would love to know. Oh, looks like we're interrupted for a second. Okay, perfect. So I'd also love to know if you are here and you're single, or if you are dating, if you are in a committed relationship, if you're engaged or married. So if you would let me know in the comments, I'd just like to get a sense of like who's here and what is going on for you in terms of dating. And it looks like this broadcast keeps interrupting. So if that keeps happening, we may start again. Hopefully it doesn't. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth. I am a dating coach for high achieving women, and I focus on helping my clients build self-worth, self-love, heal wounds and attachment traumas that are holding them back from having the relationship that they want, and then also helping them just understand men and understand how to navigate dating so that they can attract and choose and keep and have an incredible relationship with the right man for them as quickly as possible. And my work comes from my own struggle with dating and relationships, which I'll share a little bit about as it relates to this topic today, because this one is actually one of the main things that was part of my experience and what I needed to actually work through to get where I am. So, I want to start with just signs if you might have a father wound, so you can start to identify for yourself if this is something that may be impacting your relationships with men. So the first sign is that you often choose and fall for emotionally unavailable partners. So this may look different in different ways. So some of the ways that might look for you, you have often ended up in relationships with or falling for emotionally unavailable men who are, typically very successful, workaholics, probably not unlike yourself. And they have very little time for you and don't connect with you emotionally. And when you show them your more vulnerable side, they don't really seem to be able to meet you there. So you often feel very unalone and unseen by these men, but you keep falling for this type. Number two, maybe you were in a relationship with a man for years and you wanted to take the next step, settle down, get married, have kids, and he just didn't feel ready. And you waited and you waited, and there was a lot of fear of ending it and the abandonment and the pain that you might feel if you would end it. So you stayed and he was just never ready. The third one You fall for men who initially show interest, but then as you start to attach and show interest back to them, they start to pull away, they withdraw, they disappear from initiating contact with you. Maybe they come up with excuses for why now is not the time. You try really, really hard to be the woman that you think they'll fall in love with anyways. So this is how it might look if you have that one. Second sign of a father wound is that you are a high achiever and you are very successful. Um, High achievement that comes from a place of like, I need to prove, or I'm not worthy, or I'm trying to make up for something, very often comes from a father wound. Sometimes a mother wound, but very often from a father wound. So you could be very successful. You could be a high achiever. You could also, along with this, feel like this immense pressure that you need to keep achieving because there's a sense of self-worth that's tied to this. Your worth, your identity can be tied to achievement. The thought of not identifying with your work or what you do can feel really foreign or impossible. Or the idea that maybe you just have inherent worth without doing anything can also feel really weird to you. So, number 3, you experience a lot of relationship anxiety, and this is tied with a fear of abandonment. Typically, this is also tied in with you don't really trust men, right? Because you fear they'll abandon you, they'll hurt you. So, when you have this, your nervous system is kind of always on high alert, especially around abandonment. So everything that a man does is being really closely monitored, although maybe not consciously, like you're not thinking of monitoring, but you're looking for signs that he might abandon you, that he might disappear, that he might pull away, that he's not interested anymore. And so everything gets seen through this lens. So if he doesn't text a certain amount, he doesn't call a certain amount, he doesn't tell you he won't leave you, or he doesn't tell you he loves you, and he says something maybe that may suggest abandonment to you, like he's going away or he's looking for X in a partner, and you see yourself as not having it or not good enough, and you are always kind of looking for signs that this man might disappear, might pull away, is not really going to be there. So when the abandonment wound is activated, it feels like the ground is falling out from under you. You feel very anxious, unsafe, insecure, this intense kind of feeling that you can't just get rid of. You kind of can get pulled into that, and it feels a bit like a bottomless pit of anxiety, pain, anguish, grief. And you probably can't quite understand it because it is actually disproportional to the situation. And unless it gets triggered, you're, like emotionally fine, you're stable, you have all your shit together, right? But then this can rear its head when you start dating or when something happens in your relationship. So, if your partner is unable to offer you the security you need, you end up engaging in different behaviors to try to get their attention, such as nagging, excessive messaging, oversharing, causing fights, potentially pushing them away, kind of on purpose, kind of not, right? Deciding it's over before they call it over, threatening the relationship, or just any other behaviors that might feel really unsettling to your partner and actually result in pushing him away. So there could be a combination of things or events that contributed to you experiencing this kind of anxiety and that abandonment fear. But growing up with an emotionally absent or just absent physically father may have left you with this feeling of I'm not good enough, and a fear of rejection, a fear that the masculine, the man, will abandon you, and a fear of revealing who you truly are, potentially, because that might lead to that. So this anxiety is all kind of overlaying a deeper emotional pain that comes from that unhealed stuff from childhood, and it just is waiting, always waiting to get triggered. Number 4, you may have boundaries that are either too rigid or too loose. So if they're too rigid, it's likely that your father was unreliable and not showing up for you, or being absent from your life. So you may have decided that you can't let men get too close to you, and that you need to protect yourself because you'll be hurt, right? They will hurt you, they will reject you, they will disappoint you. And so underneath this, there's going to be this immense loneliness that rigid boundaries cause because nobody's getting in, right? To loose boundaries, you might feel like you have to be available to everyone else all the time, and deep down you feel that to be loved by others, you can't hold your boundary and say no, even if something doesn't feel good for you. So these are some of the signs that you may have a father wound. I want to get into just potential causes, and there are a number of things that may have happened that may be responsible for this particular way of being, right? And why you're choosing these unavailable partners and struggling with men that are because of a father wound. Because we subconsciously look for the same dynamic in our romantic relationships that we experienced in our childhood, right? So you have this unconscious desire to repair your father wound by having a relationship with a man who creates similar and familiar feelings in you as you experienced in your childhood with your father. So we often gravitate towards something that feels familiar and similar because at least we know what we're dealing with and our nervous system just recognizes it. This is why we sometimes say, oh, he just felt like home, but then it turned out to be this really tumultuous, maybe toxic relationship. Well, the home was just like, I'm used to this, right? I know what this feels like. This is normal to me. So being in a relationship with someone who is consistent and reliable, when that is not what your nervous system associates with men and with relationship and with love and attachment, it can actually feel potentially emotionally threatening and really unnerving to your nervous system, just because it's unfamiliar, it's different, it's strange, and then also because having someone so consistent and present can actually bring up that unresolved grief and pain from not having that. So your whole life you may have been in denial that there is anything there that needs addressing. But if you've experienced any of the signs and the symptoms I've talked about, then that really isn't true. There actually is something there. And how and if our caregivers, our mother and father, met or did not meet our physical and emotional needs in childhood shapes our belief systems, our nervous systems, our attachment wiring, and it impacts how much, how we're going to be relating to ourselves, to others, in romantic relationships, in work, achievement, parenting, your self-esteem, mental health, so many things as a result of that, right? What happened. And one impact can be carrying a father wound. So this is a result of having a father who felt unavailable in childhood, whether it was emotionally, physically, or both, or if your father was very critical, negative, or maybe even abusive. And the impact of this is that it's subconsciously helped to shape your self-concept and how you expect in your internal love blueprint for romantic relationships. So, our parents did the best they could with the resources and the emotional capacity that they had as a result of their own childhoods. So I just want to say that this is not to throw stones or point fingers or go into victimhood or just blaming and being really upset at them, because we have the right to be upset. And at the same time, they did what they were able to, right? Everybody's always doing what they're able to. So what we can do, though, when we know this is that, okay, well, we can at least locate the root of my patterns, right? So that you can rewire the cause of your patterns, because you don't have to keep repeating them just because that is what you experienced. So some examples of, a childhood and a relationship with your father that may have left a father wound. If your father was away for work a lot and he didn't really know him. If your father worked a lot, but when he was around, he was usually working and didn't have much time for you, and you were often told to be quiet because your father was maybe tired or in a bad mood or needed space. If your primary and maybe only way that you connected with your father was through some sort of achievement. Otherwise, he might have been critical of you or just not interested in you, and nothing ever seemed to be enough. So, for example, it could have been sports, achievement in sports, or academics, or something extracurricular. And so, to get his attention, you had to become really good at that thing. And this ties into why you are probably a really high achiever. And it may have been that you just didn't have a father around growing up. Either he left your mother at a young age or he died, which was in my case. That would definitely leave a father wound, and that's one of the hardest ones because we can think there's nothing wrong, right? We can actually seem like we've repaired and we haven't. So even though our parents were doing the best they could, loving us in the way they knew how, as children, what they did or didn't do as we're always going to be interpreting it as children because the world revolves around us. We're interpreting it as having something to do with us. What they did or didn't do means something about me, about my worthiness, about my lovability, about who I need to be in order to get love and attention moving forward, and also about what love feels like. And this shapes our belief systems, our nervous systems around relationship. So if you have an unhealed and unprocessed father wound, you're likely a high achiever. You've taken on probably quite a few masculine traits, pushing, working really hard, succeeding, having a little bit of a wall up between you and people, needing to be perfect in order to be worthy, right? That's why we do that, because of the belief systems we have. And you've been choosing men who are wrong for you and leave you feeling empty rather than full, and a similar experience to whatever it was with your father. So I want you to know, like, if this is you, that you can change the trajectory of your romantic life. You can fall in love with an available man who's emotionally and physically available, somebody who can meet all your needs for love and connection. That's possible when you heal the father wound and remove the stuff that's at the root of the pattern of why that's not what you've had. So I want to share a little bit about my story because I think it's just helpful for you to hear and to know, and maybe you'll resonate with. So for most of my life, I carried a father wound that I literally had no idea about, and that might be you. But it was directing the outcomes of my romantic life. Until I did the subconscious work I now coach on, I continued to be falling for men who couldn't fully meet me, wouldn't choose me, or men who would choose me but who I wasn't truly in love with, but it was safer because they weren't going to leave me. I put my self-worth in my achievements. I achieved. I worked so hard in school to get those straight A's. And living this way was painful, and it delayed finding my lasting partnership. And I really couldn't do anything to change it because I wasn't aware of it, right? It was all happening at a subconscious level, and it was in my blind spots. So for my story, I came to this work because of my own struggle with dating and relationships. In my early 20s, dating was really difficult. It was confusing, complicated, and it brought up all kinds of trauma that I didn't know was trauma that was getting brought up. But I was always falling for unavailable men, or I was choosing men who I wasn't truly all in with, but who wouldn't leave me and were more in love with me, if I'm honest, than I was with them, so I could have that sense of control. And so the first time I got my heart broken, it was actually after a relatively short, not even relationship. And it took me 3 full years to get over him. I experienced extreme heartbreak. I couldn't eat. I felt nauseous. I couldn't focus. I was randomly crying. I thought about him obsessively. And I never reached out to him, but I would rethink all the stuff that had happened between us and our time together. And even though I was I know he's not right for me, I couldn't just move on and let go and forget him and fall in love with someone else. And so at the time, I didn't realize that that was not a normal response to something ending. And it wasn't even a real breakup because it wasn't a relationship. That was an abandonment wound. That was a father wound that had not been healed, that was activated, that abandonment wound. That's what was actually going on. It wasn't about him. And then in my early 20s, I was in an off again, on again, dramatic, emotionally toxic relationship, and I wanted so badly to be loved. So after what had happened with all that emotional toxicity, which I contributed to due to my unhealed stuff, right, I became so much more fearful, avoidant attachment than just anxious with just an abandonment wound. I wanted love, and I was afraid of getting too close to someone because love was going to hurt me, right? That was what I was afraid of, that they might hurt me, that that person might be bad for me or hurt me. And so I was always doing this push-pull with men. And then a few years went by, and I got my heart broken again with a man again, short time dating, and he wasn't truly available for a relationship. And in that time while we were dating, I experienced all of the anxious attachment stuff, right? Trying so hard to get him to show up for me. I literally read every book there was out there about attraction and dating, and I was trying to show him how amazing I was. And when that didn't work and I got my heart broken, I decided I needed to figure out why love wasn't working out for me, because I saw in all of my failed relationships and experiences with dating that there was literally one common denominator, and that was me. And for me, that was a huge breakthrough because I just kind of thought it was all out of my hands and there was nothing I could do about it, and it just happened. And when I realized there's a common denominator, it's like, okay, so that means I can actually change things because this is like coming from me. There's something in me that seems to be attracted to or creating or responding in these ways to these situations. So I realized that the core of it went back to losing my father when I was 5. He died when I was 5. And there were attachment wounds, specifically like an abandonment wound around men that I had never looked at. I never knew was there. And only when I was dating was it getting triggered. The rest of my life, you would never know. At least I didn't think you would know. Now I'm like, okay, there were other things that were going on. But that was a huge one for me because I wanted love so badly. And, it had been so difficult. So I realized that like this was why I had been wanting security so badly, why I was latching on to men who were unavailable, and a whole bunch of beliefs that I had around the core wound that I wasn't good enough, and beliefs about men that I would be abandoned. And so from there, I went and got help to do the inner work to heal enough of the stuff that I could end the patterns and the emotional experiences that I was having with men. And that's actually when I met my fiance. And it was because of that inner work that I had done that allowed it to happen and that it allowed it to progress. So because I was able to do it, and it was a pretty bad case, like I had trauma I had no idea about, didn't use that word ever, never came through my mind that any of this was a problem. And there was a lot of stuff there to work through. And, I want you to know that if I could do that and I could be where I am now, there's literally no doubt in my mind that it's possible for you. And I see it all the time with my clients. They come with all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even matter if you think it's small or big. Whatever it is, it's possible for you to heal that and to find an amazing relationship. So it's the most important step to take, though, is to really do that inner work if you want to end these patterns with men in your life and you want dating to be experienced differently. You don't have to continue feeling unmet in love. Go get the help to do the inner work to truly heal. And I think it's important to say, too, that I don't mean like another 4 years of therapy just talking about what happened. I mean actually healing the root of the pattern, the beliefs, and the stuff that's in the subconscious that drive it. This is in your nervous system, it's in your body, and it's in your beliefs. This doesn't actually take very long. It has never taken my clients very long from doing that work to meet someone. For me, it was 3 months. For a lot of my clients, it's that long, sometimes even shorter. So, I help my clients do that inner subconscious belief and nervous system work to rewire all of the things that are holding them back from having the love they want. And it sets them up for success with men so they're not attracting or attracted to the wrong partners for them, because that's in the love blueprint and the subconscious stuff, or recreating old situations with new men who it may have worked out with if they didn't have all that stuff. So that's what I do primarily. What we're doing is really healing the root of their patterns with men so they can find, attract, keep the right man for them and be able to cultivate that really secure, supportive, happy, easy relationship. And this is like deep subconscious healing, reprogramming work with the body and the nervous system, which is where our core wounds and our beliefs are rooted, healing the inner child and other parts, because we don't just have an inner child that needs integration, we have a lot of parts, as well as a thought work at the level of thoughts and beliefs in the conscious mind. That's the basis. And then I offer support around the practical aspects of like what to look for, how to approach dating, what to accept, what not to accept, navigating dating apps, messaging, and communication, which sometimes these are just things that nobody told you, you just didn't know. And like, I'm like, oh, I can see that. That's what you need to know, right? I can see very clearly where my clients are needing support, where they're stuck, and what they need to move forward. Like just yesterday I posted on my Instagram, I had 2 clients reach out to me. One of them had met a guy at the very end of our 3 months working together, and now I think it's like 2 months later, they are in an official relationship. And she said it's been the most easy, the most smooth, the most effortless relationship she's ever been in. And this guy is just so perfect for her, and she doesn't feel like lacking or unworthy or too much in any way with him. Another client messaged me, and she met a guy while we were working together, and now they're in a relationship, and she met his parents and his parents met her parents, and all of them said, like, you guys are such a perfect match. And that relationship has been so incredibly smooth, happy, and easy. And this is literally what happens for all my clients. It's incredible what this work does, and I'm so passionate about it. So anyways, if you are ready to find that person, and if you're ready to get the support, you want support to see what's in your blind spots, you want the support with navigating dating, you want my guidance, my insight, I have spots for one-on-one clients. These are 3 or 6 month packages on all of this work that I've just talked about, so that you can stop replaying patterns with men, experience dating as easy, smooth, effortless, which is what it should be, standing in your worth as a woman, your high value, your self-love, so you are treated as the prize you are, and then being able to build that deep emotional bond with the right man for you and really attract that right relationship and have that go so smoothly. So if you're interested, if this is meant for you, you'll feel the pull to me, and I invite you to send me a DM to apply and then schedule a consult call so that we can chat further about getting you enrolled. So when you message me, I will share the link to my consult application with you. You'll be able to apply and schedule your call. And then on the call, we're going to just chat about where you're at, where you're needing support, what you're looking for, and see if working together feels like a fit. And then if it does, then you'll be offered one-on-one coaching and you'll be able to enroll and we can get started working together. And if that's you, I so look forward to meeting you and to chatting with you and getting to know you and working together. It's going to be the most incredible journey of your lifetime. It's the best investment you will ever make. So many of my clients tell me this. We will go deep. You will be so supported and so held. I'm on your side like 1,000%. I want everything in the world for you. And you really get to be seen and held, and just know that my gift is to really be able to see exactly what's going on, where you're stuck, and what you need to shift it quickly. This doesn't take a long time. So you have to be ready and you have to really want this. And if you are, then send me a message. Let's connect. Let's set up a call. And I really can't wait to talk. And I will see all of you ladies later. If you have any questions or comments about this video, post them, let me know your thoughts and just your responses to this, and I will see you next time. So much love, and we just have to end the video. Bye.